Dispatch at engine 11, engine 10, line of 5 battalion 4, good here for possible structure.
I got fire inside the rear of the building that's walking its way right on into the showroom. I love you.
The last words that you heard was my best friend, Louis Mulkey, in his last dying words as he was burning to death. It's tough to hear.
June 18th, 2007, the Charleston Sofa Superstore fire claimed the lives of 9 firefighters. This was the deadliest firefighter disaster in the U.S. since the September 11th attacks, and it could have been prevented. The Sofa Superstore, composed of a 42,000 square foot single-story showroom building with a warehouse building located behind the retail space. The building had no fire sprinkler system and violated several safety codes as previously noted by firefighters.
As firefighters, you pre-plan buildings. That means you find buildings in your area and that could possibly be a threat. We were all told the Sofa Superstore is on fire, and we all knew that that was a horrible place to have a fire. We often referred to that as a death trap if that's one of the calls we ever had to go on. So when we found out that that building was on fire, we all got in our cars and just went. So this time you got hundreds of firemen on scene, man. I mean hundreds. There's probably 300 something plus people on the scene that night. It was just a sea of red lights everywhere, and I ran up to my buddy David Griffin, who was pumping. He was the engineer on engine 11. And I said, David, what do we have? And he turned around, he said, Lewis is missing. And he said, Travis, we got a lot more guys in there too. We don't know how many. I mean, because now the building is down and there's just fire everywhere you look. It's just fire blowing. You know, I often say the worst decision I ever made was going inside of that building that night, but the best decision I've ever made in my life was going inside of that fucking building that night and carrying them all home. It didn't seem like anything courageous. It's just what needed to be done. You know, our guys are down. We got guys down. We got to do what we got to do. Let's push forward and go get it. So we didn't even have air packs on our back because they were all used. So we're choking on smoke, literally gagging on black smoke. And you can't see. There's, you know, and you're crawling next to big flames, fires, and they have ladder companies dumping water on top of us. And in a normal fire situation, you would never be operating inside of a fire when you have tower units raining water down, because they're just so powerful. It could hurt you. It could injure a firefighter, blow debris on them. It could push fire on top of them and kill them. But we had no choice. We had to go in. We had to do what needed to be done. And it seemed like it took a long time to get to them. And once we started finding them, you would hear a team shout out, hey, I got somebody, and we would do the same. And I saw something silver, and it didn't look like anything we had seen up until this point, because everything was just black. And then I saw something, and I went over to investigate what it was, and it was by myself. And I crawled up there on my hands and knees. And I started looking at this thing. I was turning my head like a curious dog, trying to figure out what the fuck is this. And I realized that it was an air pack of one of our guys. These were his shoulders. That's his back, because the pack is on his back. So his head should be right here. But there was no head. There was nothing. It was just a couple of teeth. I realized right then, whoever's in here is dead. Whatever count that they have on the outside, every one of them's fucking dead. So what we had to do is we were tasked with not moving the bodies and just trying to identify them the best way that we could. This one individual, Captain Billy, was a really good dude. He'd been in fire service 30-something years. He was off engine 19. And we ended up pulling his fire pants down, and his wallet was in his pants. And he opened it up, and we saw his driver's license with his credit cards, man. And it was just like, God damn it. It's one thing when you're working with dead people and you have no relationship, you don't know them, because it's not real.
No.
You go to these things and it sucks. It fucks with you from time to time, but it's not personal. This is personal. But we got a job to do, man, and so we got to find more of our brothers, and then we go not too far away and stumble on another one. We found Mark, and he was face down. We rolled him over. His hands were in front of his face, and it's almost like he saw the flashover that happened in that building. Flashovers happen all the time in fires, and that's when everything reaches its combustible limit at the same exact time, and everything all the superheated gases in the building go, and 99% of firemen that are caught in these things die because it's so quick and it's so violent. It's almost like he felt it or saw it and did like this, and then turned and fell. And when I rolled Mark over, the best description I can give you is we have a plastic face piece right here that covers our eyes. And right here is usually rubber and it's black. I don't know if you've ever seen an ultrasound of a baby, 3D. That's what his face looked like. It was baked into his mask. We undid his coat, pulled his coat open, and we had metal name tags back then, and it had his name right there. And that's how we identified Mark. And the next brother we found was Brandon, my team. We go into this back storage room. It's like one of the only pieces of building that was really left intact. There was a lot of smoke damage, not a lot of fire damage. And Brandon was huddled down in a corner, and his body was just normal. Brandon ran out of air, but he got away from the fire, but he died from smoke. And he just looked peaceful, man. And his wedding invitations were in the mail. I'm having to relive this because I can describe it to you. And as soon as I cleared that doorway, I looked to my left, and he was laying right there. So I knew it was him just by looking at his skull, you know? I didn't need confirmation. I knew, because he had a distinct face, and even when his skin is baked off of somebody's face, you can still recognize them, and it's a sick thing to say, but I've witnessed that. But his arms were sticking up in the air, and his fucking sleeves were burnt off, his fire coat. All the skin was burnt off of him, and just his arm bones were sticking up. His radius and ulna, his hands were burnt off, and his head was back, and his eyeballs were burnt out, and the fucking skin was burned off of his face, and his mouth was wide open. And I just got on my knees next to him and told him how much I loved him. This is real.
Yeah.
This is the fucking job.
Yeah. Sorry.
I signed up for it. Didn't realize how real it would get.
Yeah.
In Charleston Fire Department, we didn't back out of fires. We were very cowboyish, and we were very prideful of the way that we did things, and we were very, very aggressive. And this is hundreds of years of tradition, and it finally caught us.
The International Association of Firefighters and other fire safety experts, including the president of the Charleston Firefighters Association and a former captain with 25 years of service in the department, have been critical of how the fire was handled. Safety experts claim the City of Charleston Fire Department did not follow procedures consistent with national standards. Others have also questioned why so many firefighters were in a burning building with a steel truss roof, which is known to be a serious safety hazard for firefighters. A routine fire pre-plan of the Sofa Superstore in June 2006 made no mention of its roof construction. Photographs and video of the event also raised concerns about the firefighters involved, including chief officers who were not using personal protective equipment correctly. Some firefighters were wearing street clothes, while others had open coats or were missing helmets. Some could be seen walking through toxic smoke without air packs. Fire Chief Rusty Thomas has indicated that everyone inside the structure, including the 9 fallen firefighters, were wearing the appropriate protective equipment. Under criticism over the handling of the fire, Chief Rusty Thomas retired roughly a year later, on June 27, 2008. A public memorial service for the fallen firefighters took place on Friday, June 22, 2007. A procession of more than 300 fire engines, ladder trucks, ambulances, and command vehicles which stretched approximately 7.5 miles long. An estimated 30,000 people, including as many as 8,000 firefighters representing over 700 emergency services agencies from around the country, attended the gathering. Not since 9/11 have we been reminded so poignantly of the sacrifice our first responders make to protect our safety. These 9 firefighters gave the ultimate sacrifice last night doing the jobs they loved. As Charlestonians, South Carolinians, and Americans, we are grateful for their service and deeply saddened by their loss. Our hearts go out to their families and their colleagues. This devastating loss is one that touched the hearts of our entire nation, and we grieve with them. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant." These firefighters were public servants in the truest sense. They answered the call to serve their community, and today Charleston is a better place for their service. Between the 9 that perished was a combined 100 years of service to the Charleston Fire Department. This is a remarkable testament to their dedication and selflessness. Their experience and service cannot be replaced, and their contributions will not be forgotten.